Hello, everyone. Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. I was going to try to pick 5 topics, but I'm like, no. I mean, I can think of many more, but I decided I'd just start with the 3 and maybe later on do another set like this. So I've talked a lot about power outages because, well, that's so common here. And I know for a lot of people, I mean, I think everybody experiences at least one power outage in their lifetime, where here it's just like, oh, guess what? It's another power outage. So we just had another one, 14 hours long. I don't know what happened. We always make the assumption it was a tree because we got big trees and we had some stormy weather. So even though it had been cold, like 2 weeks ago, it was really cold all week long. Then last week it got nice and warm, and then suddenly the rains came. And when that happens, you're more likely to have trees fall on the line. So yeah, we were out for 14 hours, but of course, you know us, we're ready to handle power outages and the like. But here are some things that are fairly common in the fact that it can happen to just about anyone, but maybe not happen even on a yearly basis, or maybe every 5 years, every 10 years, every 15 years, whatever it is, even farther than that. And the first one is, I have a family member that's going through this, is if you have a septic tank, you can at any time have a drain field failure or the septic tank itself. So just an overall septic failure. So you got to be prepared for such things. So a lot of times, you have a lot of more preparedness channels, and I kind of am one of those, but a lot of times when they focus on this stuff, they're usually focusing on it as a massive grid down situation where the whole world is whatever, you know what I mean? It's a polar shift, it's a whatever the latest topic is of fear mongering. Not saying some of these things cannot happen, but some things are so either A, unlikely, or very rare that it doesn't get people in the right mindset of thinking about preparedness. They're thinking of, oh, most people are going to think that can't happen here. But when you think about the fact that septic tank or drain field or dry well failure can happen to anyone if you have a septic tank, that is, of course. Even if you're on city sewer, you think what happened in 2020 when people were out of toilet paper, so they were just using whatever and flushing it down the toilet. Because it surprises me the level of people that have no education on what should and shouldn't go down the toilet. It just, whether you're on septic or city, it doesn't matter. There's certain things you don't flush down the toilet. Paper towels are some of them. Coffee filters are some more of them. Obviously, if you have especially like a drain field failure, because one thing is that a drain field is said to last about 50 to 60 years, and then it can fail. And a lot of this is also going to depend on the health of your septic in general. Oh, let me go back. I'm sorry. Let me back up. So I was talking about 2020. So people were flushing everything down there and causing just massive issues with the city sewer, like massive. So when these things happen, you need to make sure you have some kind of backups. So obviously, if you've got a compost toilet or something like that, you're fine as far as the toilet goes, and even if you don't, like I linked to a video I did 2-3 years ago in the description box down below, a bucket. And even if you don't have a place to dump a composting toilet material, even just putting a garbage bag in there, a heavy duty one, making sure you have compostable material to throw in there, such as wood shavings, even just sawdust, dry grass clippings, anything that can compost and that will soak up the liquids and also keep the smell down is going to help. And then if you have to, tie it off and dump it. I'm not dump it and don't just throw it anywhere. You can put it in the garbage as long as you got a good heavy bag. I know it sounds horrible, but if you got all your like especially things like wood shavings, things that are very absorbent that will soak up the liquids, you really don't have to worry about it. But that's one of the things I talked about, and anybody can do that. So, but I recommend you go check out that video I linked to in the description. I can't remember what else I talked about, but having options for that, and also kind of have a game plan for what about all your gray water? Because if you've got a septic tank and your drain field isn't working, you can't be running your gray water down there either. So where's that going to go? You have a backup plan, a game plan where, let's say, the water from your laundry, especially if you're using all natural soaps, this shouldn't be an issue. Or all natural cleaners. Have your gray water, like from your washing machine, figure out a way that you can have it go out into your garden areas and drain out there. And then you're making the most of the water too, for washing your hands or whatever in the bathroom, in the kitchen sink, or even washing dishes. Have containers to wash in, and then take the gray water and go dump it instead of letting it run down the sink. There's a lot of things that you can do, and it's really not that hard. Yeah, it's going to be extra work until you can get the repair work done. It's just these kind of things you got to think about. So, and then of course, the big one is, this is another reason. I think wood pellets, you're just saying wood pellets are great. Yeah, I was thinking that too. I would assume things like the cat litter and so on and so forth would be great. And then, Maddie says you can even do 2 buckets, one for liquids, one for solids. So like the liquids, the urine is a great fertilizer for your garden too. I just recommend watering it down first before you throw it on anything. But tomatoes and corn apparently love it. So, just find out if you have a garden, what likes that best. And then that way you're only having to worry about the solids when it comes to dumping them. So, but anyway, having money in savings is the emergency fund. You should always have some kind of emergency fund. And just like building up food storage, it can take a while, especially if you're on limited funds, to build up an emergency fund. But it's a matter of just putting a little in there at a time, whether it be in the form of a jar and sticking some cash in there or whatever. Because if you have a drain field failure, it's going to cost thousands of dollars to either replace it, repair it, or whatever. It can cost that much. It's just one of those things to think about. Now, something that happened to Patrick again recently, so we had to go up the mountain to check out our other piece of property again. Oh, I think I told you guys we had that fire. It was our neighbor who owns a piece of property right next to us was burning some stuff, caught a big old stump on fire. It wasn't really on our property or that close to our property, so that wasn't such a big deal, but he still was able to go up there and use his equipment that was there to help put out the fire. He's coming back down the mountain, and this is what happened the last time he got a flat. Because of the mountain, the type of rocks and gravel that's around there, you got to have some pretty heavy duty tires. And the last tires he had put on our truck were not as heavy duty as they should have been. He was thinking they'd be good tires, but nope, got a second flat. And this time it was like, okay, if I'm going to be running up and down this mountain, I'm just going to have 4 new tires. And I need the good ones. I need the ones that can handle going up and down this mountain and not have me keep getting flats. So one thing is obviously making sure you have a spare, which everyone should have a spare tire, but not just have the spare. Check your spare on a regular basis to make sure it's in good condition and it's aired up. Because you might forgot, maybe you switched something out, maybe your spare went bad and you got a new tire and you never got a new spare. You got to make sure that's in good condition. And also another good thing to make sure you have on hand is a patch kit. A lot of times you can patch if you get a flat tire, I mean, you might not be able to fix it on the road, obviously. It'd be something you'd probably have to do at home. But if you get a patch kit, you can repair your own tire. And they're not very expensive. In fact, my son, he recently got a flat and he had a patch kit on hand and repaired it himself. Patrick always has a patch kit. Sometimes you have flats that are, maybe it's a torn tire, the patch kit's not going to work, but just look it up, tire patch kit, and they're not that expensive. And it's definitely a lot cheaper than taking the tire in and having it patched at a tire shop. But as in this case, and also, oh, by the way, it happened to my sister and brother-in-law. Before they came here, they got a flat tire. And in that case, they had to get 4 new tires, not just 1 new tire, 4. And the cost of tires anymore is just incredibly expensive. And you got to make sure you have enough money set aside that if you get a flat and you can't get that kind of replacement, you may have to get all 4 tires replaced. Doesn't always happen that way, but it can happen. So, just another good reason to have some money set aside, for these types of emergencies, a drain field failure, a flat tire. And then the third one I was going to talk a little bit about, and yes, this is one I've mentioned before, but I don't think we think about it enough. There's just a lot of these just average common things that we don't think about enough, even if we see other people go through it. And that is, if maybe you suddenly become ill with something, whether it just be some kind of cold or flu or whatever virus going around, or maybe it's something far more serious, or you injure yourself like I did, I think it's been a couple years now, where I tore the ligament in my knee. And one thing I didn't realize until recently, I should have put it together, but now that I'm thinking about it, is that a torn ligament takes far longer to heal than a broken bone. Far longer. And when you have a torn ligament in the knee, it can be very difficult to get much done. Or if you have a broken ankle, it can be really hard to get stuff done if you can't really walk around and move. So aside from just having the ability to try to take care of yourself, that's part of being prepared, that's why I'm so happy I'm growing arnica as well as the comfrey for helping to heal sprains and broken bones and tears, ligaments, and so on. And it does help a lot. I didn't go to the doctor for the tear in my knee. I figured out what it was and exactly which ligament it was that was torn by studying images of knees, of all the parts and pieces. And I'm like, yep, it's that one. I know it's that one. Once you're able to figure out what it is and having the knowledge on how to take care of yourself in that situation, that's going to save you a lot of money, for one. So you don't have to go to the doctor. But the other thing is, what are you going to do about all the chores and all the things that you have to get done that need to get done? Do you have a backup plan? I mean, if you're married, you have kids or whatever, obviously you're going to have someone that can help out, but do they know how to do these things? Have you kind of shown them? Do you have the ability to teach them how to get these things done? And I'm not even just talking about washing dishes, like everybody can figure out how to wash dishes and scrub a tub or a toilet. But I'm talking about things like, it's this time of year. I remember one of my followers a couple of years ago, she broke her ankle right in the middle of garden season. And man, you got stuff to harvest, you got stuff to can and dehydrate, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, how are you going to get all this stuff done when you're hobbling around, or maybe you can't move at all? So make sure that you kind of think through, these are things you can write down. Maybe have a notebook. Okay, if this scenario happens, okay, this is what I might need help with. But yeah, write this stuff down, whether it just be notes to yourself to think of what kind of things can I put in place to cover getting this stuff done and taking care of myself or somebody in your home, or the instructions for somebody if it's something that needs to be done and you can't do it and you need help doing it, whether it be a family member, somebody from the outside, a friend, maybe not even somebody that lives in your home. Just some things to think about. And, because I tell you what, when I tore that, thankfully it wasn't in garden season, and was it? I don't think it was. I think it was in the winter that I tore that ligament. But I was still, it takes a good year for a torn ligament to heal. And so I was still having to be really careful on it come garden season. But even if it wasn't garden season, I have a lot of stuff to do. I have a lot of stuff to get done. I do all my sewing on a treadle machine, and I use both feet for that because I have little feet for one, and it's a lot easier to use both. What can I sew? I wasn't able to use my left leg for sewing, so I had to do it with my right leg only, which made it take longer, or sew by hand. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. It's like, can you still get your important projects done? Or do you have a backup plan for it? And having your medical supplies on hand. So, we've got crutches, we have bandages, we have wraps, we have all kinds of stuff. Actually, we didn't have the crutches at the time I hurt my knee. Oh, I did have crutches. So I was really glad to have those crutches. I could hobble around with the crutches. It was a time before when I twisted my ankle really bad and I was crawling around on the floor. I couldn't even get up at all because it hurt so bad. Well, Patrick, I remember thinking, man, I wish we had some crutches on hand. And it was shortly after that, by the time I was able to actually walk on it, Patrick was at the dump and he saw a pair of looked like brand new crutches just laying there. Somebody didn't need. So we got some free crutches. And so it was nice having those when I hurt my knee. But with that said, I have a video that I linked to in the description box, my list of medical essentials.